What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
We hope you're all doing well. We have a ton of music to talk about this week because we're going to be covering the past like 2 to 3 weeks of releases. Finally done with our Album of the Year series and Best of December. We've officially moved into January. And man, we have a ton of music to talk about. So if you have any music news, please share up front. Otherwise, let's just dive right in.
Well, let's dive in, bro.
All right, man. Kicking things off with this one from Armin and A-Lock. It is called Euphoria. I did not mean to start the playlist off with kind of a dud this week, but I saw Armin and A-Lock, assumed it'd be great. It's good, it's fine, I guess. But like it just sounds like any 2010 song that Sia would do vocals for, and that's just not doing it for me in this case. What about you, though?
I actually got this song stuck in my head a number of times. You're right, though. It's okay. The interpolation of
Hmm.
I forget the classical song that it interpolates, but
I do as well.
would have been way more cringy if it weren't Armin. And can we just talk
Agree.
about anybody who knows dance music? You don't even need to say Van Buren behind Armin's name. It's just Armin.
Yes, of
Only
course.
Armin.
I
Armin
think
only.
that subconsciously I just say Armin van Buren because you're gonna say Van Helden if you're talking about Van Helden. You're not just gonna say
Right.
Armin.
Exactly.
Armin van
Exactly.
Buren has the designation of just being Armin. If not for reputation, then for having his signature show be called Armin only.
Right. Yeah,
So
no. The dude's earned it. We'll give it to
yeah,
him.
he has. I also think that we are in an album rollout. I have not looked into it, but the last few he shared have had kind of similar album artworks. I think we're heading towards a new Armin album sometime this year.
France is so back. I just need to
Melodic
shout out.
caps.
I just want to shout out Armin van Buren. Van Buren. We talk about a lot of, I with our I guess hyperbolic. This is the hardest working dude in this scene.
Hmm.
Armin van Buren. It has to be one of the top hardest
Yeah.
working. He runs a podcast, runs the
Hmm.
State of Trance festivals. He runs the State of Trance label. He he
Yeah.
produces his own tracks, does the shows across the world. The dude is a fucking rock star, and I just wanted to shout him out.
I mean, without any hyperbole, I can say 100% he is the entire reason I like dance music. Before moving to Southern California, I had heard like Cascada, like that type of dance music. And like in high school, I heard, Castles in the Sky, stuff like that, before I knew what I was listening to. But the first time I moved to Southern California, I kept hearing about this Together as One New Year's Eve festival that was happening every year. Armin was the host of it. I think it really only happened 2 or 3 years, but I moved there kind of after the first one. So word of mouth was out like almost the entire next year that you have to go to this show on New Year's Eve. It was the first rave electronic. It didn't even, I don't know, it was a rave, but it was just a giant electronic music show at the LA Coliseum on New Year's Eve, which was insane to get to, but I mean that's a whole story for a different day. We get there, man, and I've never seen anything like it. He kind of he was DJing from behind a scrim for like the first hour or two. I think around 9 or 10 at night is when the big show of Armin Only starts. The thing drops. He has the live violin player, I think a live guitar player, brings out every vocalist for their song to perform it live over the course of the next 8 fucking hours. Does not leave the stage one time. I was so blown away by this performance, man. I went home, bought the album, listened to it repeat for like the next year or so, and went to many shows just to chase the high that he gave me live, man. Armin is one of a kind, for sure, even if
That's
trance is not the hot thing anymore.
That's very real. And Together as One was when we called large festivals massives.
Yes,
A lot of
yes.
old heads will will remember that. I've actually seen photos of this set. Our mutual acquaintance Tim, he actually shot that entire set on a
So cool.
professional DSLR. So,
So cool.
yep.
Deadmau5 was playing a side stage outside in a non-electronic head. That's how long ago this was. I think it was
Wow,
announced
man.
like the week of, man. It was a what a time.
Yep.
Anyways, thank you, Armin. If that I think it goes without saying, but we should say it out loud once in a while. So thank you, Armin.
Correct.
All right, new one from John Summit and Cloves called Focus. I think you're going to be happy to know this one is not doing it for me, man. It's just, I don't know, just it's I think I say this a lot, but fine but forgettable. It
It
just
is
falls under that.
festival slop. It is just festival garbage insomniac slop. It's fine, but it's not. John Summit has yet to surprise me with anything he does, besides maybe that LA show. The production level surprised me, but his
Sure.
music has not yet. So
It never surprises me, but I do tend to like it more often than you. This one I just did not find the need to come back to nearly as often as some of his more anthemic tunes.
yeah, fair.
One that I most certainly did. New one from Anima and Ellie Goulding, Hypnotized. Holy shit, man. This is a fucking song. This is one of those ones you can hear like a million times. I probably will and still will not be tired of it. Just outstanding work from both of them on this. What'd you think of it?
So I've been pretty critical of Anima's work for a while. I've loved a lot of his music. This one is probably one of his better tracks. Ellie
Yeah.
Goulding has the voice of an angel over pretty much any electronic beat, and their style works together flawlessly.
I agree. He's kind of we've never really doubted his capability of making this, but I think that this is the best application of his style to kind of a more commercialized electronic sound. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, but after the first electronic artist to have a residency in the sphere, he's definitely ascended to a new level of fame and artistry. And I think that he's going to need songs like this, which he debuted in there before releasing, to kind of, not, I mean, appeal to a slightly broader demographic. And I also just love how Ellie Goulding just pops up every few years to remind people that she can be one of the best to ever do this whenever she really wants to. And
Best
I
ever.
think she wanted to on this song, man. Insane. Really
I
good.
really hope that Anima tends to move more towards this more commercialized style because I think it suits him really well. And I actually hope that Tale of Us as a group ends up pulling back a little bit and going a little bit more techno and a little bit more minimal. And I really hope that that distinction tends to separate the works a little bit because right now, prior to this song and really his last album, the sounds were kind of the same, you know. So
I agree.
I kind of want that separation of the two projects to feel better about both of them, and I think this is a step in the right direction for me.
Yeah, and having the two projects means he can have the best of both worlds. We'll see if he
Exactly,
chooses to.
exactly.
New one from Dead Mouse called Jupiter. Not one of his more memorable songs. I do like it. It feels like classic Dead Mouse, but I feel like the last few singles of his I've really been jamming to, especially that last EP he put out last year. This one didn't quite hit like that. What about for you?
Some EP was real neat, man.
It was
Uh,
really good.
real neat. This is a gorgeous track. I'm not gonna lie. I probably liked it more than you. He has this emotionality to playing his music, and I know. I think I know what you're missing from it, though. It's very simple. It's very old school, pre-random album title progressive house music, and that's great, and he does that style very well, but I think that this is very simple. This is like maybe three synths and a drum, and
Yeah.
that's about it, and he does so much with that, but it is more of the same beautiful gorgeous music from him, you know.
Which I agree with you, but I'm also gonna like add to that and say like it is the emotionality we've come to expect from his synth work, but I feel like it's an emotion we've heard from him before.
Very true.
It is very simple but very well done, as is tradition with his music.
Yep.
Dude, holy shit! This new one from Bicep and Eliza, Chroma '08 Tangs, fucking rips, dude. Top three Chroma track easy so far for me. This shit is really good. What'd you think?
Bury me with this fucking song playing, bro. Oh my God. I'm so glad they're continuing with the Chroma project. I loved their
Same.
first two records, and I love the Chroma stuff that they're doing, which is very obviously different than what they've done
Yeah.
in the past. And I love how they're evolving and continuing to try to level themselves up, and they're continuing to do it, man. This is, like you said, easily top three Chroma tracks, and all of them have been great. So
Yes. Yeah, dude, I cannot wait. I mean, I hope this era doesn't end. It feels like we're in the middle of kind of a magical era from them. But when this is all done and we have all these tracks together to look back on, it's gonna be fucking sick.
Whenever they end up closing the Chroma project, I really hope that it's with a like a gigantic party somewhere. I don't
Yep.
know, call it drum sheds. And yeah,
Sure.
man, I hope that everybody in the world gets to see them kind of send this project off. And I want to keep it as long as possible, but I'm also so excited to see what else they can do because
Same.
they're so creative.
Yeah, call it drum sheds and also invite Brandon and John. Sounds great.
Correct.
All right, man. We got new one from Disco Lines, and I think the way you pronounce this artist's name is Nomi. I apologize if it's not. Song's called Wide Open. This is his first release on John Summit's imprint label. It's pretty good. Not my favorite Disco Lines song, but admittedly a grower. Every time I've heard it, I've liked it a little bit more. What about you?
That's so funny you say that because the first time I heard it, I was like, and then by the eighth time, which I think was today, I was like, wait a second, this is kind of good, man.
Kind of catchy. It's kind of catchy. Yeah, it's a good start. All right, new one from Abo and Demon Time. Been seeing a lot about Abo in like the deep house section of the interwebs, and I like what I've heard so far. I thought this song was good, but I was kind of tired of it long before the runtime was over. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, yes and no. I think that traditionally Deep House has kind of always had. This is probably an extended mix, just not called an extended mix. So it's got that long
Drags a
intro and
little
that kind of
more.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of drags a little bit more. I liked it. It's pretty groovy. Definitely some good Deep House, man.
Yeah, if I'm on the dance floor, there's no way I'm gonna notice the extra minute and a half in this one. But
Exactly.
as like a succinct listening experience, it felt a little repetitive. One that fucking did not. This Solomon remix of Climbing by Caribou. Been dying to talk to you about this one. You knew I loved it the second you heard the claps in it. But this is just one of the best Solomon remixes of the past few years. And this guy has been remixing some of my favorite songs lately. This is outstanding, man. Close to my song of the week, but not quite. What'd you think of it?
Also very close, probably in the top three of the songs that we've reviewed that we're going to be reviewing this week. This is incredible. Like you said, shout
Yeah.
out to Solomon, man. He's also a hard worker, but my man, this was great. I'm so glad that he got the chance to rework this. It's much more of a rework than a remix, but
Yeah.
call it what it is.
Caribou posted about it when it got released and was like, he was excited. He knew Solomon was working on it. He had no idea it was going to be what it was when he got it back. And I don't think you could ask for more, man. Completely love this take on the song.
Imagine getting like studio time with both Dan from Caribou and Solomon, like two pretty almost like dichotomous areas of house.
Yeah.
Get that would be insane, bro.
I mean, every time I hit play on this song, I had their faces staring back at me because the weird little video graphic that plays with it.
I
So
love
I
that
feel
for
like
you.
they're in the room with me all the time, actually. New one from Young Franco, Earth Gang, and Jafunk called Lose Control. This is like straight out of the posse rap boom of the early 2020s, about 5 years ago, when guys like Code of the Friend were coming up to prominence. I'm not mad at it. I think it's going to get a lot of plays around festival season. What about you?
Gang just makes every single track they perform on fun. Like
Hmm.
they're always in their zone. I love the pitch shift synths on this beat. This is a great track, man. This is a lot of fun.
Really, really fun. New one from Toki Monsta and Party of Two called Feel It. I usually really like Toki. I wasn't really feeling this one. What about you?
Same. You want to know why?
Why's
Reminds me of
that?
a Catronata track.
I plead the fifth. Can't admit that. All right. Let's move on, man. We got a new one from Jungle called Keep Me Satisfied. Again, this one is fine. Like I said last time we talked about them, I think the success of Back on 74 and the music video, the choreography heavy music video, that is, just seems to have dictated everything they've done since. It's good music, but it's just too similar to what they just released. Like these all sound like B-sides of the same song to me. And I might be too hard on them, and maybe it's just all bled together for me at this point. But yeah, more of the same, fine, but it's more jungle. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. I think that the their first album, Forever, I think it was, or Loving in
Mhm.
Stereo. No, it's Forever. Both Forever and Loving for Stereo are both fucking great.
Living in Stereo
But
rules.
but
Yeah.
but Volcano was different, and the EP was different, and those seem to be where their success is. And so I can't sit here and
Yeah.
say, well, you shouldn't ever change because that's whatever. But it's just not hitting the same area as it used to. So I'll agree
I
with you.
agree, man. Let's fully move into the pop realm of things and on from here. We got a new one from Jade. It's called It Girl. Have we talked about Jade before?
I don't think that we have.
So she's released a few singles that have kind of been in my personal rotation. I guess I just never threw them on. She's from that all-girl group called Little Mix, which might not sound too familiar to you and I, but they were like a big girl group out of the UK from one of those Simon Cowell TV shows. I think they all went their separate ways since. She is one of them that's gone solo. Her first few singles were really good. And I like parts of the writing, performance, and production on this track, but I don't really like the way that it all came together. It's like Diet Brat or something. What did you think of this one?
Got
As
it,
as it
Brat.
being like your first exposure to her music?
It's a fun little pop tune. That's what my
Yeah,
notes say.
I,
So
I think if you hear her other ones, you'll be like, ah, this is a step down. But I had a feeling that would be your take if you hadn't like had a bar to set before this, I guess.
it's a fun little pop tune.
All right. Her album should be dropping sometimes this year. I'm excited to dive into that one with you.
Nice, me too.
New one from Banks, Love is Unkind. Not the immediate banger that I Hate Your Ex-Girlfriend with Doechii was, but still a catchy tune. And another album I'm looking forward to hearing in full when it drops. What'd you think of this one?
I actually really like this one. We've covered a few of Banks's solo music,
Yes.
not just her collab with Doechii, which I loved because Doechii is killing it. But I like this one. I actually really like this one a lot.
Yeah, it's a solid one. I
Yep.
think the album's around the corner. We'll probably be hearing it all pretty soon.
Hell yeah.
New one from Saint Levant here. It's called Exile. He's got a great voice. I am just not a big fan of the Edward Maya-like wind instrument drop on this one, but some French pop and R&B over a simple beat, man, give it to me all day. I just didn't like the drop, quote unquote. What about you?
I actually liked all of this. This guy's growing on me a little bit, man. Actually reminds me of if like Neil Francis did R&B, breezy and kind of synthy.
We need Neil Francis making Saint Laurent songs. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that R&B album from a girl named Zayn that we reviewed last year. He did a remix of one of her songs. That's kind of how I found him. He does
Got it.
mostly French stuff, but he's been dabbling a little more in like just straightforward English. It's really fucking good, man.
Nice.
We'll definitely be listening to more of him.
I have no doubt.
New one from Kyle Dion, Tears on a Pretty Face, very Michael Jackson adjacent. I don't know. This one, like, I like it. I want to love it. I don't. I like it, and I guess that's enough for me. What about you?
I'm actually gonna say definitely Michael Jackson, and the influence is obvious here. I mean, look at the album artwork on this one.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
it's him doing the what is that? The Off the Wall,
Thriller.
Thriller. Yeah, it's I mean the comparisons are obvious and the influence is obvious. But if you're gonna have an influence, it might as well be the king.
Yeah, well said. Speaking of great voices, man, new one from Joy Crooks and Vince Staples called Pass the Salt. Joy has a phenomenal voice, definitely in that like Amy Winehouse and Ray class in terms of the style. Vince kills it as always, man. There is not a beat he cannot rap over. What'd you think of this one?
I'm gonna be real, bro. I was actually kind of skeptical when I was like, "Oh, really, Vince, this isn't gonna work," and it works extremely well.
Yeah, he can do anything, man. You're bad for doubting Vince Staples.
I, I
Put that
just,
on
I just,
record.
I just didn't think that I didn't think that the collab was gonna sound as good as maybe like it would have been with another rapper, like I don't know, like Dave.
Brandon.
But
He found the groove on a flume beat. He can find the groove on a soul song. If you can find a flume groove, man, you can find it anywhere.
you know what? You're right. You're right.
All right, let's talk about this new one from Lil Baby, Young Thug, and Future, Dumb Dumb and Dumber. This is off Lil Baby's new album. I skimmed it. I did not feel we needed to review the album, but I felt like this song was good enough to talk about. It is Young Thug's first official verse since getting out, and fuck, does he steal the show, man. I don't identify as a fan of any of these three artists, so imagine my surprise when I hit play on this and was like, fuck, this is good. Like, this is pretty damn good. The Thug verse just steals the show for me, man. I really liked the beat on this one too. What did you think about it?
Buggers out, man. Good for him. Look, man, this my no, I have more to say, but my only notes are this is indeed a Young Thug, Lil Baby, and Future track.
Yes,
Um, look, man. I think that Thugger's gonna have a little bit of a problem with finding rappers to work with where he can't because he's legally not allowed to rap about gangster shit. Uh,
sure.
so this one didn't. I saw it and I was like, is he I like actually like dissected all of their verses. I was like, there's got to be some gang shit in here. Nope, nope, no, one little second of it on this. So good for all of them. I'm actually, not surprised that Lil Baby is the first one to give Thug the chance. It's one of those songs, man. I'm not a gigantic fan of it. Young Thug's versus probably one of my favorite from him in a long time at the
Yeah,
very least.
yeah.
Future sounds like Future and Baby sounds like Baby.
We just need to get Thug back in the studio with Amine until he can rap about whatever he wants. Because last time he was in there with him, he was rapping about the orange and black seats in his car looking like Daffy Duck, and I think that's fantastic, and that's not going to get him in any trouble. So,
Yeah, because here he's
Thug,
just
link up with
rapping.
Amine.
Right. And so I mean he's just rapping about women, but if he
Yeah,
could if he
yep,
could make a concept Daffy Duck album, now that's the one, man. That's the one. Somebody
that's the
get
one.
Katra on the beats, have it be an Amine Thug collab album. Let's go.
Oh man, escalating Vince McMahon meme right there. All right. We got a new one from Central C and 21 Savage, GBP. Dude, I've listened to this song so many times. I don't know if it's good or bad. I have no. Is this good? Is it corny? Is it funny? Is it stupid? Is it bad?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right? Like, the album comes out this week. I think that what I need to accept is that is Central C's style. Like, he's so good at his type of rhyming and his the way he writes, but there's always a fucking line or two in there that you either roll your eyes at or like, is this satire almost? The scuba divers line in this song, for instance, every time you're like, what, bro? But shout out to the guy for trying something. I'm excited. That's one of the albums I'm looking forward to dropping this week. What about you? What are your thoughts on this one?
Every time I started the car this week, this song came on. I like
Of course.
I had to. You know what I mean? Like it's it's so good, man. Yeah, this is terrible. I love it. It's great.
Well said. Thank you. That's exactly how I feel. New one from Japanese Breakfast, Orlando in Love. I love her last album. I listen to it on a weekly basis almost. I cannot get into this song, man, and it's making me feel like there's something wrong with me. What
No.
about you? Do you like this one?
No, I like when Japanese Breakfast has a little bit more pep in her step, if you will. The
Yes,
strings in this song are gorgeous, but I
sure.
really like it when she has more energy. And like you said, her last album is fantastic. Her album before that is great as well. So,
hmm Well, her new album is called For Melancholy Brunettes and Sad Women. So I do think that she is kind of at least telling us what the vibe of this one's going to be.
so
Um,
this album was written directly at me.
Always was. All right, man. New one from Lucy Dacus, Ankles. Holy shit, man. I love this song. Another album I'm immediately looking forward to. That like I was expecting it to be good. Lucy's always good. This is fucking great. What do you think about it?
Totally agree. Blew me away. Great song. She's in her fucking zone on this one. Her voice sounds fucking beautiful.
Yep.
She killed it. She crushed it. I can't wait for the album. It's gonna be great.
Me either. Forever is a Feeling is the name of it. March 28th is the release date. Moving on, we got my song of the week, Spelling, Portrait
There
of
it
a Heart.
is.
This girl came out of nowhere to steal my attention and has held it pretty firmly since, dude. I love this song. I've been going through her back catalog. I'm really enjoying that as well. But this song has been so strong in my rotation the past few weeks, and I'm not even a little bit tired of it. First of all, have you ever heard of this girl? She does have some music out already. Second of all, what'd you think of the song?
Yes, I actually found her after she had dropped Pantheon of Me in 2017. That's a good album.
Yeah.
You should go back to it. I haven't admittedly listened to her since, and this is great, bro. It feels very 90s with that guitar loop and
Yep.
like the soaring vocals into the bridge. And I love the little filters on the drums during those little breaks. And obviously, like her
Yeah.
vocals are soaring, like I said. So the whole aesthetic is let's go.
Oh my God, dude, you gotta check the music video out. It only further enhances the 90s of it all. I think everybody in the 90s, if that just randomly popped on their MTV, they would not even question it at all. Fits right in.
Sick.
Um, God damn, this is a great year for indie, man. Horse Girl's new song, Switch Over. There's just so many great songs in the genre already, and we're only 3 weeks into the fucking year. This
Right.
is crazy, man. Another group I'm kind of pretty new to, but big fan of already based on this alone. What do you think of this track?
So I had heard of Horse Girl. I've also heard of Horse Girl, which is
Not
a
to be
DJ.
confused
Yeah,
with.
which is a DJ who wears a horse mask, presumably a girl, and is playing Coachella this year. This Horse Girl is not. I This is okay, man. I think we just had so much good music this week that maybe I skipped over it. I'll give it a few more listens, but on my first few, it was, eh.
Yeah, just switch over and switch off, Brandon. You'll be hearing more of them soon. All right,
I'm
we got a
sure. I'm
new we
sure.
got a new one from Blonde Shell. Tits and Ass is the name of this one, or I guess
That's
more
right.
appropriately, TNA. Found this girl when we were putting together our end of the year playlist a few months ago, and she just announced a new album alongside putting this song out. I thought it was great. I'm really excited to hear the album. What do you think of this track?
Yeah, I loved the track that you threw on the end of the year playlist for I think it was Rock, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I loved that one, loved this one. Can't wait for more. This is great.
Same, man. Jesus. This one, Last Grasp is the name of the group, Vampire is the name of the song. This is some goth rock I can fully get behind, dude. We have to check out more of them because whatever that like organ synth thing going on at the end was had me hooked. Where the hell did this come from?
So I have been doing background research behind your back, John, and I have
Hmm.
been diving into some goth music. And the curiosity came a few months ago when somebody had mentioned Bauhaus at Coachella online, and I was like, "Oh, that fucking set is so good!" And so you go, you watch, I think some footage is on YouTube, and then I went, "Oh, well, guess I'm listening to fucking Bauhaus today." And then I was like, "Wait a second, I haven't listened to like goth music in like a long time. Like, what's happening with it?" And my God, bro, there's so much good music on the darker side of post-punk with goth and death rock, and I loved this. The vocals are great, the bass line is great, that
Hmm.
super like distorted riff is addictive. I will be throwing more goth onto the playlists this year.
So sick, man. Cannot wait for more goth, please.
That's right.
Um, all right, talk to me about this next one, the Mummy Cats, Nameless Faces.
So I think this is the second track of theirs that we've covered, and I love their sound, John. They've got this energy to them. They they just have it for me. They've got
That's
the
fair.
sound. What do you
I
think about this one?
I liked it, man. I think I like the music a little more than the vocals, but it's very fun to listen to, regardless of whatever the preference is. I agree with you. They definitely have a sound right now. All right, we got a new one from Trash. DJ Unicorn Crusher's the name of this one. Just textbook Midwest emo, jangly riffs, little screams in there. Love it, man. What do you think of this one?
This band doesn't fucking miss, man.
No,
Crushing it every single time they drop something. This is
I
great.
I agree, man.
And the trademark, like I'm crying as I'm screaming at you, is
Yes.
just incredible.
If you don't cry when you scream, you're doing it wrong. If people don't know already, we should just say that right
Correct.
now.
Correct.
Uh, Michael Sarah Palin is back, apparently. We got a new song,
Let's
Wisteria.
go.
Was not expecting this at all. I honestly thought they were broken up, but I will take this. Happily surprised by it, dude. This is great stuff. Kind of a slow burn, but worth the wait. Really, really good. What do you think of it?
when someone on the internet asks, "What's your favorite cover?" I think it might be "Happy" by Michael Cera Palin. I don't think there's a
Yes.
single Michael Cera Palin song that I dislike. Uh,
So
they're
good.
incredible, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, they are fantastic, dude. This next one, holy shit. New one from Pup, Paranoid. What a return, man. This song rips. The video is just as good, if not better, man. Love everything about this one. What about you?
Anybody who's a fan of Pup that hasn't seen the music video, I'm going to throw it in the show notes because it is absolutely incredible. So creative, one of the more creative videos in punk in the last fucking decade, man. It's a
Yeah,
lot of fun. They
really sick.
upped the fuzz a bit on this one. I love
Yeah, a
that.
little more
And
punky and fuzzy.
oh yeah, let's go. Can't wait for a new project from them. I hope this is not a one-off single. I want another album because I need to add it to my collection of Pup
Yep.
albums on my shelf.
Yep. Uh, Carrying on, we got a new one from LS Dunes. Violet, the ageless Anthony Green is fucking screaming again and shit. The song is great. I love LS Dunes. I love music. I'm so happy. Anthony Green is in my life, man. This is awesome. What'd you think of it?
How does Anthony still sound so good? Like this dude has been screaming his throat out and
Hmm.
singing for like 25, 30 years at this point. I
In
love
like
this song.
3 or 4 bands at a time. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And actually, this song actually, you know why both of us love this song so much? It reminds me of a Circa Survive song, less than an LS Dune song, and it like kind of took me back to the first time I heard
Yes.
Juturna, and I was like, oh yeah, this is
Yes.
it.
I had the same note exactly, dude. I was like, this is like not Seos and Anthony, but this is like holding
Early
someone's hair
Circa.
back, Anthony. Not the music, but him, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
It's his energy, which let's be real, defines all the bands he's in. So
correct. But I mean, Colin's guitar playing in Circa is, especially on that album, as distinct as his voice. But he is the X
very true.
factor in everything he's in. He is Craig Owens, but they are both one of a kind, you know?
Yep, for sure.
All right, man. New one from Silverstein. Don't let me get too low. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay. First off, I just need to get it out of the way. The song is cheesy, but you know that I loved this, man. They're continuing to get a little bit more poppy. I have to say that it really works for them. Shane's vocals are fantastic here, as is tradition. The track actually gets better every single time I listen to it, even though they use some lazy analogy like gravity, you pull me down. They could have
Yep,
done better there. But this album is shaping up to be pretty good. I'm seeing them next week. I'm very
you
excited
are.
for that.
Yeah, man, all the legends are on the road. Emery was just here the other night with the Almost and Scary Kids. Like Silverstein's on the road right now. It is fun if you were a fan of this type of music 20 years ago to catch all of these bands now. Because it seems like everyone just has a second wind right now, in a way, which is fucking awesome. Like the fact that Silverstein played through the whole Scene is Dead era to see people come back to their shows and scream their shit louder than ever and buy their vinyls in numbers not seen before is really fucking cool and shows like that it was worth holding out and that the fans were kind of there all along. You know, they are one of the bands that deserves that type of loyalty for sure.
And you know what, man? I actually think they're leveling up. 25 years into their career, I think they're leveling up. I don't remember them selling out the House of Blues Anaheim, which is the venue I'm going to see them back in 2018 when they did the when
Hmm.
Broken is Easily Fixed tour. They sold out, and resale is kind of crazy.
Right.
So I don't know what venues are like slightly bigger than the House of Blues, but they're about to level up. And for everybody who went to When We Were Young or only goes to When We Were Young to see these bands, go see them on the road. Go buy their merch on the road, man.
Yep.
They absolutely deserve it, and they crush it. I'm so excited for this show.
Right. You should be, man. It's gonna be fucking awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. I will say they have a high bar to beat with Misery Made Me. I liked that one significantly more than A Beautiful Place to Drown. My expectations are high. I'm excited. We'll see if they meet them though. Misery Made Me was a really, really good album. Gonna be tough to follow that one, but if anybody can do it, I believe they can.
I'm sure I gave it a 10. It's incredible, man. I listen to that
Really,
album
really
all the
fucking good.
time.
It's
I
really
voted
good.
for the Altar slash Mary on the set list. You know, like it's great.
Yes. Yes. It is a great album, man. All right, let's talk about Architects. Black Hole's the name of this song. I have said it before. I say it again. I like formulaic metalcore. Shoot me. I don't give a fuck. This isn't my favorite, but I just feel like we don't talk about this band nearly enough, and they're kind of one of the bigger ones in that section right now. They have a
They
new
are.
album coming out. What'd you think of this one?
So, I actually just saw them. They were very
You
good.
did?
Yeah,
Yes.
at Mayhem, they were very good. I've always been kind of like, you know how I am. I'm allergic to hype, and so when hype happens and then bands blow up, I stop caring. But the song was heavier than I thought. And it was so funny because it starts off with that like super genty riff, and I was like, oh, here we go. And then they kind of pull it back a little bit, which is
They do.
lovely. It was lovely. So I like this song. We'll see what happens with the album, man.
Yeah.
Should be good. He's channeling his inner Knocked Loose with his
He is.
raw
He is.
vocals on this one.
He is. I'm not mad at it. All right, collaboration of the century here. Fucking Bleeding Through and Comeback Kid on a song together. I Am Resistance just lives up to the billing for sure, man. What a collab. You sent me this one, so I know you've been fucking digging it.
Yeah, song of the week. Dear God, this track is fucking good, man. I don't know how I love how much bleeding through we've gotten over the last few years. The drumming on this is insane. The guitar solo is fucking awesome and like not expected because who does fucking guitar solos in metalcore anymore? The synth work
Right?
is great. The Comeback Kid feature is fucking wild. I
Mm-hmm.
loved every second of this song. This was on repeat all week.
Really, really good, man. Hell yeah. Great song of the week. All right, talk to me about Relics of Humanity taking the shape of infinity.
Raw, brutal, heavy as fuck. Love the slower riffs. It's death metal, but it's not quite death doom, but it's right there, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is great. Out on Willow Tip, you probably could have guessed that one.
Mm-hmm.
And albums coming soon. I'm very excited for
Yeah, next two releases on the playlist, Willow Tip and 20 buck spin. Big surprise. Yeah,
it.
dude. We needed some growly death shit on the playlist this week to kick the year off. So thank you for adding that. It's dark as fuck. The quality of the recording is questionable at best, but it hits exactly how it should, you know?
Part of the aesthetic, man.
They wouldn't get it. We just like the crackle. Um, all right, man. We got this new one from Neon Nightmare, as I mentioned, coming to you on 20 buck spin records. It's called Black Wolf Triarchy. I'm not sure who this guy is. I think it's my first time hearing him, but I'm all
I think
for
so.
trippy bar metal like this, dude. Bring it on.
You know, man, this typically isn't like my thing. I actually ended up enjoying it more than I thought I was going to after my sample. I actually just wanted to throw it on because I wanted to show that 20 bucks spin doesn't just do like brutal death metal, you know?
Kind
Like
of you.
this is not that. And it's good, you know?
Yeah, I agree, man. I thought it was a fun way to mix things up, if nothing else.
Right.
One more single this week from Combust and Rory O'Neill, Our Own Breed. Kind of by the numbers, but really fun to nod along and chant to. What about you? What'd you think of it?
I'm just gonna say it, man. I think that this band is going to become something big in the hardcore
Really?
scene. I do. I just have a feeling, like you said, it's by the numbers, but it's by the numbers in the all of the right ways. And I have a feeling they're gonna be something close to Drain, you know?
hmm I mean that would be a hell of a bar. I could see that happening. This song didn't really hit me in that way, but I could see that going that way. I'm sure we will review more of their stuff going forward.
Yep.
All right, few EPs this week, man. First up from Lane 8, it's the Childish Deluxe track. What'd you think of these?
Childish-ish.
Childish-ish.
This is
Gambino.
the right, exactly. This is the perfect little floating additions to Childish, man. Not even entirely sure why they didn't make the original album because the original album was kind of short. Just some fantastic synth work, man. Lane 8 is just in his fucking zone right now, and I'm all here for it. Please, all of this, all of the time.
Yeah, I could see why these ones got cut or didn't fit into the album. I didn't love that album as much as you, but I think it was like very well put together, and I always appreciate when an artist knows when to trim a song or two. I think it's cool that he ended up releasing them regardless of whether or not they fit into the album. I think that the way that he incorporates them into his live sets going forward could be the much more interesting route for a lot of these ones, but good stuff.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep.
New one from Yan Cook, Eyes Adjust to the Dark. Bro, just lock me in a room, turn the Ukrainian techno up to 11. This EP is so good, man. 2244 and the title track are both phenomenal, especially the title track, man. That one goes.
Let's fucking go, right? Like this, like
Yeah.
this it, man. A blasting industrial effort from Yen Cook out on Arts. We've covered a lot of Arts over the last couple of years, but not a lot very recently. And I was very excited about this one when it came out. I was like, ooh, Yen Cook and Arts, let's go. Daily listen for me this week, for sure. Easy.
So good, dude. Talk to me about this next one. Hugo Roland XX22 is the name of it. I like what I'm hearing, but what the hell style of techno is this?
Yeah, this would probably fit into the hypnotic techno sort of stuff. It's not it's not actually my thing. This was actually a pretty challenging listen. I had thrown it on the playlist because it was a molecular records release, and I normally like both of us normally love their releases. And this was not my jam, man. This was pretty challenging. A lot of bleeps, a lot of bloops, but not like in the way that I like my bleeps and bloops. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. Yeah, like it was good, but just a little off in that
Yep.
regard.
Yep.
Talk to me about this one from Castle Las Noches.
Uh, Minimal is so back, John.
It is.
This is out on a new to me at least label called Space Travel Records. Richie Houghton actually posted today that Minimal is back and he has something in store. I'm all for it. The hard techno trend is bleh, and I would love to see some like actual minimal techno coming back out again. This is fan fucking tastic, John. This is so good. All four or five of these tracks are just they spoke to me this week. What do you think about
Yeah,
it?
you knew it was going to be minimal from the fucking brutalist architecture in the album artwork for it,
100%.
but like the artwork itself and the architecture itself, it's solid. This whole EP is very solid, man. I like some good minimal in this regard. I thought this one was decent.
The brutalist architecture on a nice gray day, you know it's gonna go hard, bro.
It hits, man. It's always gray over there, I think. It's like the Mexico filter from Breaking Bad.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Are you ready to talk about some albums?
Yeah, man, we've got a few.
We do, starting with the new one from Bad Bunny. I should have taken more photos. I think this album is fantastic, dude. I like that he did away with a lot of the more like broad and modern hip hop trends he incorporated into his last album in favor of a more contemporary Latin pop album, celebrating his Puerto Rican heritage and just helping further define that genre as we know it today. The Club dropped as a single back in like December, so I don't think we got a chance to talk about that song or the small, very small lead up to this album, but you could tell from the singles that we did get that this one was going to be a little bit different. Still has that outstanding production from Tiny all over it. It sticks to the familiar Latin pop drum beat that I know has haunted your dreams for the years we've been doing this, Brandon. But I think it manages to feel fresh and creative, even if it's not necessarily being inventive. His vocal instincts continue to shine. So many melodies from this get stuck in my head if I hear them, and I don't know what the fucking words are, but I can still just sing them out loud. Some of my standouts were the intro track Nueva Yol. I don't even know how to pronounce it. EOO. That one is really really fun. But the second track, which I think translates to "I'm gonna take you to Puerto Rico," so fucking good, man. Love the line about switching partners like he's Rosalia. Um, Bad Bunny is back, dude. I'm feeling a strong 8 on this one, and I could even see it growing more on me over time. But we'll do an 8 for now. What about you? Where are you at on it?
So, yeah, this one took me by surprise. I think you would probably heard more of the singles than I did. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm so well within my rights to like actually review this one. I'm just not familiar with all of the different
Fair.
styles that we're hearing here. And like you touched on all of that, right? It's not like a traditional Latin pop album, but it has a lot of Latin pop to it.
Yes.
And there's like a lot of different styles of Puerto Rican music in this, and I did like a little bit of digging. We had a lot of music to listen to. It's been a crazy busy week for me, so I didn't really
Yes.
I didn't have enough
Understandable.
time, but to like dive into the 1960s of Puerto Rican music. But what I can say is I loved this, man. It was a lot of fun. I love how genreless this dude is.
Hmm.
He makes a pop banger, then a rap banger, then a reggaeton banger, and now like this.
Yep.
The dude just gets it, all while still throwing his own flair. Like you know, it's a Bad Bunny track as soon as that hey comes on, and like that's so real, man. Like it doesn't really get old. It's super catchy. Like you said, that's track two, Baile Involidable, and
So
El
good.
Club. The club,
Yep.
great. There's a lot of really like cool like Torista is amazing. I
Yep.
can't tell you what kind of music this is, but it really like the first time I heard it, I was like, oh whoa, this sounds like traditional, which is what got my gears going. And I was like, oh well, better throw like 18 Puerto Rican historic albums on my listen to next, and which is what I did. But it's one of those things.
Yeah. 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 That's fair.
This is clearly an eight. It's a really good album, man. I had a lot of fun listening to it, even though I don't understand the lyrics.
Yep. Same.
The club is amazing.
Fantastic track, man. Really good. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did, dude. That's
I
awesome.
did. I really, really did.
All right, let's talk about Balloonerism by Mac Miller. As always with posthumous releases, I'm not going to give a score, but I do feel better talking about this one than other posthumous releases, considering this one was recorded, completed, and shelved like 10 years ago. I'm
Right.
not sure if any tweaks were made to this release, but it feels very 10 years ago. So I'll assume they're minimal, if any. The project as a whole makes a lot of sense. I think especially as a bridge between the style he started off with on his early projects and the more melodic stuff he started doing from Good AM on in like 2015 or so. It's a good project. There's a few tracks I did not care for. I think the beginning of the album takes just a little too slow to get going, but once it does, man, Do You Have a Destination, for example, hooked me right away. It felt like listening to Mac again, but like for the first time because it's something I hadn't heard. That's always the goal of these types of releases, but it's hard to get that feeling. That song gave me that feeling. Funny Papers as well. Just man, the guy even on projects that didn't even see the light of day was just spitting, and you got to admire it, man. I think as these releases go, it's hard to define a quality to them or feel comfortable since the artist didn't really have a say in whether or not people got to hear it. I don't know why this album was shelved. I did not look into that. I don't know if that's public information or not. But now that it has seen the light of day, I can at least say it's pretty damn good. There's a few bangers on it. I liked it. What about you?
All right. So, like you, I didn't give it a score. I actually didn't take a lot of notes on it. I listened to this album every day this week.
Yeah.
There was I didn't get into Mac Miller when Mac Miller was doing his thing. But I have listened to his entire back catalog, and all of it's very good, right?
Mhm.
Well, not all of it. A lot of his tracks are great. Um, what I will say though is like you said, this album starts off a little slow, but that actually wasn't a drawback for me. One of the things I learned about this album is that he did almost all of the production on it himself, or at the very least started it, which is for a
Explains the raw
posthumous
state.
release. Yeah, for a posthumous release, it actually feels a lot more complete than say like the Prodigy album we covered, I think either last year or the year before,
Yeah.
where it didn't feel complete. It all just felt kind of Frankenstein together. And this does not feel like that. It feels like a cohesive project. It feels like a moment in time, like you said. The album artwork is just terrible, but I love a lot of songs. In fact, DJ's chord organ stood out to me immediately. Like yours was "Do You Have a
Interesting.
Destination," but
Yeah.
DJ's chord organ, I was like, okay, let's go. Friendly Hallucinations is really good. I didn't care for like tracks like Stoned, but I did like
Fair.
Funny Papers, you know.
Yeah.
Mannequins is pretty good. Rick's piano is hilarious with who the fuck is Rick Rubin? And you know, man, I have to say I want to thank Mac's family for allowing this to be released because I think that's one of the reasons why it wasn't released because he didn't ever want it to be released. Maybe it wasn't completely finished in his mind, you know, but
Yeah.
his family, I think his family allowed it. And I think we're all better off for it hearing more Mac. It was kind of weird hearing his music again and shit that we had never heard before, like
Yeah.
most posthumous releases are. But this was really good, man. I enjoyed this one.
Same. Same. Let's talk about Franz Ferdinand. Their new album, The Human Fear, is out. I added this one blind. I think I heard Audacious as a single a while ago, but I just threw it on for the hell of it, man. They've never been a band like I've identified as a fan of, but I've never disliked their music either. This felt like the right time to kind of see how they're sounding now. And honestly, it's not bad, man. I think the album starts a little slow, but I think I would have just picked other songs over Audacious as maybe a lead single or the starting song of the album. But it's still pretty good. I think the album, for me personally, really kicks in and maybe even peaks around The Doctor and Hooked back to back. Those two songs are so fun, man. Really, really just easy to throw on at any time, fun listen, highly recommend. There was a few tracks over the rest of the album that stood out as well. I think Night or Day was one of them. Black Eyelashes for sure is a strong recommendation. It's a much better album than I was expecting, and I guess that sounds bad because I was kind of expecting to roll my eyes at just what is Franz Ferdinand going to sound like in 2025. But man, I didn't hate it. I did not hate it, man. I still think it's probably like a six for me, just overall, but solid album, man. Hooked and Black Eyelashes are my favorites. What about you? I feel like you've been a bigger fan of their music through the years than I have, so I'm really interested on your take.
You know, I might have been a bigger fan of this era of music
Maybe
than
that's
maybe you
it.
were.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever identified as a fan of Franz Ferdinand besides the fact that I have liked pretty much everything that I've heard from them. I'll be honest, I have not listened to pretty much any full album from them aside from the one with Take Me Out on it. Uh, and
What's
yeah,
that
man,
song?
what'd you say? Yeah, that song seems to play every once in a while when you're out in public and you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, I wonder what Franz Ferdinand's been up to. Turns out they've been releasing albums. Uh, this is good, man. Audacious is fun and catchy. Tracks like Hooked and Night and Day are they're hook driven, bro. They're it's catchy 2000s rock music, man. I love this style. They killed it on this one, bro. And you know, I will say I'm somewhere between a 6 and a 7 for me, like you. It's not like my favorite rock album of all time. I think that this style needs a little bit more pizzazz in today's day and
Yes.
age, but from
Love that
my
word.
but 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 from my first, you know, handful of listens to this album, I really didn't like dislike it as much as I thought I might have, you know, just like
Yeah.
you. Like
Yeah.
I was like Franz Ferdinand. Wonder what they've been up to. And I haven't gone back to their back catalog yet. We're gonna be busy this year, I have a feeling, so I
Yeah.
probably won't have time this year. But you know, man, I am curious.
Yeah, I am as well. I feel like they didn't quite Chevelle us, but they put out a much better album than expected, and I have to commend them for it.
I love your use of Chevelle as a verb. And only OGs from podcast listeners will understand what we're talking
Like
about.
episode one or two
I
right
think it's
there.
episode 1 or 2, bro.
All right, man. Let's talk about the Knock2 album, No Limit, that has finally arrived. I think like everything else that he's released, or that at least we've talked about so far, I like this. I like his overall sound. Modern bass house with like an early 2010s feel and aesthetic. He's clearly a student of the game, but he does manage to make his stuff feel more fresh than overly familiar retreads of the decades past. he's great at delivering the big drops and does so multiple times on this album, but he's also showing some more nuanced abilities as he continues to release new music. I would have trimmed a few songs from this project for a more focused listening experience, but he delivers more than a few bangers on here, and I guess you kind of need a high hit ratio to get that number. So I don't hate him just kind of throwing all these tracks out here and seeing what sticks. Fast and Slow, it feels like a less dubby mode step, like in the way it's kind of like R&B dance. I was very taken back by it, but really liked it. Crank the Bass does just that. My standout though, dude, I text you right away. Shake the City. Holy
Hmm.
shit, man. This guy's got a certified banger on his hands now. I've liked some songs of his in the past. I love this one. This is a hit for me, man. Album is a light seven. Shake the City, obviously my standout. What did you end up thinking about this one?
So this is exactly why I like Knock2 solo productions. This is so much fun, John. I might have even
Mhm.
liked it more than you. No holds barred, big room house music with oomph and sprinkling of modern flavor. Knock2 just continues to spit out some of the most festival ready and overall just fun music. It's funny that this genre kind of quote, quote, went out of style since the 2010s, but
Mhm.
with Knock2's recent success, man, how could that possibly be true? He's had a fantastic couple of years. He pretty sure he sold out like five shrine shows back to back to back to back in
Yep.
LA. His Coachella performance with ISOXO and subsequent tour and other festival
Yep.
appearances. The dude is just on fire. And then he comes in and capitalizes on that massive popularity with an album that just bangs front to back, man. This album does bang front to back. Like you said, it's drop after drop after drop. If Tom Haberford was in the building, he'd say, "How many drops are there?" You'd say, like, "I think there might be like 45 on this," and he'd be like, "Well, the
Every
whole
song
whole
has to go
album's a
through.
banger, man." Man, I remember when we reviewed like his first EP and being like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna do it," and he fucking did it, bro.
Yeah.
Like this guy did it. Good for him. It's probably a mid seven for me. Shake the City is an absolute, undeniable, dirty, fucking uh big house banger.
Yeah. Love that song, dude. Easily one of my favorites this month. You know what?
100%.
I'm changing that to my song of the week. Shake the City is my
Hey,
new
there you
song of
go.
the week. Spelling is up there still. All right, let's move on, man. We got this album from Stick to Your Guns, Keep Planting Flowers. My guy, we have not talked about any of these songs in the lead up. I added this kind of hoping to surprise you with it. I don't know if it was on your radar or not,
It
but now that
was.
you've heard it, what'd you think about it?
There were not many better things I could have done this week to kill 25 minutes other than throw this ferocious hardcore album on. Stick to Your Guns, our early 2000s Orange County hardcore OGs, man. And I just love how they have put out banger after banger throughout their entire career. I remember listening to like a demo of theirs in like 2005. I think I got it at a hardcore show in a church. They have this kind of like Bury Your Dead versus Madball sound that just works so fucking well for them. But the one thing that I think has always set Stick Your Guns apart, and the one thing I love, is their lyrical content has never felt lazy or phoning it in. Every single word that Jesse screams into his mic, you can tell that he means that shit from the bottom of his heart.
Yep.
Album starts with a banger, We All Die Anyway. In just a minute and 20 seconds, it frames the album perfectly. Spineless is a fantastic representation of what
So
I mean
good.
by lyrical content. A little long at over 3 minutes for a hardcore band, but I think that's more because it's like a regular song. It's not really,
A little
you know.
long.
Fantastic, catchy choruses, great breakdown. Permanent Dark, bro.
So good.
Classic hardcore punk. Two step all over the place, ferocious as hell. I'm going to quote from the song here: blurring lines of life and story, counting graves of former glory. Oh my God, John. Just an insane line. The album continues and kind of alternates between hardcore banger and anthemic choruses. And this album it's an insanely good album, man. I didn't doubt it would be before I started my first listen, but by the time I had listened to it like four times in one day, and by the end of the week, I think I've heard it like 15 to 20 times, man. It's a quick 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It's an 8 to 9. Permanent Dark or
Damn.
Hate for You with See You Space Cowboy is
Yes.
gonna be my favorite of the bunch here. What did you think about this one, John?
God, a demo in 2005, dude. We've been listening to this band for fucking 20 years. I can still remember screaming along to This Is More in my hoodie at one of their
Thank you.
shows with the lyrics to the breakdown of that song
Yep.
written on that hoodie. Move. One of the
He
greatest
does it
nights
on
of
this
my
one too.
life.
He does
He
another
does.
move.
He does. I did the Leo pointing at the TV thing, dude. It's forever. The point is, man, for them to still be going this hard isn't impressive because of their age. They aren't nearly as old as a lot of other metal bands we've covered, but because of just how they keep doing their thing despite the fads that come and go around them. They know what their fans want and they deliver this time and time again. I like the concept for this album and the little like digging sound stitched into the intro and outro for ambience. It's not trying to shove a theme in your face, but it's enough to get it in there. The hardcore infused breakdowns that make up a bulk of this album are so good, dude. The intro is awesome. The way that it goes into Spineless so cleanly, I'm a big fan of, and further into Permanent Dark. Really, just the whole sequencing on this album is top tier. They keep it brief, 10 songs, 24 minutes, but it feels substantial. And if it's not, play it again, man. This one is between a
Right.
7 and an 8 for me. My standout, Hate for You. Easy. The See You Space Cowboy feature, big surprise that that's my favorite, but hearing them together was really fucking cool.
Hey man, do you like that band, See You Space
I
Cowboy?
kind of do, kind of. Uh, yeah, dude, I'm glad you like this album so much. I have it pretty damn high, but I'm glad you have it as high as you do. This one is fucking rad.
Bro, how can you? I mean, I was born in Orange County, raised and lived in Southern California my entire life. If you are a hardcore fan and you don't like Stick to Your Guns, get the fuck out of the scene. Like,
Yeah, and honestly, if you're just kind of in that like hardcore scene, if you don't go scream Honest Sleep live at a Touche show or This Is More live at a Stick to Your Gun show, are you really part of the community? Like
exactly,
you're not. You're not.
exactly.
Get to your shows, people. All right. Let's talk about one more album, man. Talk to me about this The Halo Effect album, March of the Unheard.
So I don't think that we covered their last album.
I
Maybe
don't
we
think
did,
so.
but if it's one thing that I know I can expect from the Halo Effect is that they're going to deliver some really good melodic death metal. That is what this is. There's no boundary pushing, there's no extra flair. It's just straight up mellow death, and they deliver it. Look, man, I don't really think I was expecting anything else. Kind of glad that they're in their groove so hard and they're still able to pump out music like this that scratch the mellow death itch so perfectly. I like I said, I don't think we covered their 2022 album, maybe a few singles in 2022, but that was a stacked year. But I did end up listening to that album. I enjoyed it. For those who don't know, this band actually started in 2019, but these dudes have been making mellow death since the 90s, with many founding members of In Flames, and their goal is to bring mellow death back to the Gothenburg sound, which they most definitely have done on both of their releases. Tracks like Our Channel to the Darkness accentuate this by having like that folky intro along with Mikkel's vocals and the strong lead melodies. The melodies throughout this thing are honestly like crazy. Like March of the Unheard is wild. Detonate is it's got this like how does he even do that riff? You know, like a death that becomes us is very good. Even the closer coda is I mean it's great, man. It's not like I said, it's not pushing any boundaries. There's little to very none of synth work or any. They're just bringing it back to the fucking early '90s when At the Gates and In Flames
Yep.
and Carcass were all doing their thing, and I, for one, am gonna welcome that with open arms. It's a 7 for me. Our Channel to the Darkness, I think, is gonna be my standout. What do you think about this one?
Man, I agree with you entirely, dude. I didn't know much about the band before diving into it. I once I saw the members of In Flames and Dark Tranquillity, I was like, everything makes sense, dude. The sound
Right,
is
right,
so
right.
rooted in classic 90s metal, which might sound dated, but I think it's comforting to older metalheads like you and I. Like you said, it's not doing anything like on a level we've never seen before or in a way we've never heard before, but it's doing the mellow death basics so well that it doesn't really matter. Like it's not trying to be the heaviest album, and that's to its benefit. It plays to the strengths it has, makes the most of every member's talents. It's not going to be one of my favorite metal albums of the year, but I thought it was a really good listen, dude. The guitars on this just anchor everything around them, and it all comes together in a satisfying way. High six, low seven. My standout is Detonate. It's a banger.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
All right, man. That does it for us this week. Make sure you all tune in next week. We'll be checking out new albums from Central C, FKA Twigs, and a whole lot more. Make sure you're following along with our weekly rotating playlist. You can find the link to that in the show notes. You can also find us on Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Give us a follow, say hi. And we're on YouTube. Make sure to say what's up there. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, smash that like button, whatever that bullshit is. We'll see you guys all next week. Peace.
Peace.